I was staying with my brother at a cabin in northern Montana. It sat in a valley between the mountains, tucked away behind rows of trees. Both Jimmy and I were very into outdoor activities, so this trip was pretty typical for us. Wandering through the woods, going on hikes, and simply exploring. Because the drive was long, we took it easy the first day, staying around the cabin, enjoying the scenery, and not going too far. I remember that around 5:30 p.m., Jimmy decided to go for a short walk before it got dark. I didn't think much of it, just glanced at him as he stepped outside and said, "Yeah, go ahead." He didn't bring a backpack or anything, so I knew it was just a quick walk. I stretched out on the couch near the fireplace to rest. I was almost drifting off, exhausted from driving most of the day. The cabin gradually grew darker as the sun set behind the mountains. It wasn't until the only light left was the glow from the fireplace that I suddenly realized Jimmy still hadn't come back. It was pitch black outside, and wandering through the woods without any gear at that hour was extremely dangerous. I jumped up, grabbed my day pack, headlamp, and flashlight, and rushed outside to look for him. My first thought was that we were in bear country, and I worried Jimmy might have run into one. But the deeper I went into the woods along the trail, my concern shifted into something else entirely. I had a terrible feeling and kept looking over my shoulder as if expecting someone to be there, but there was nothing. After about 10 minutes on the trail, I saw Jimmy walking toward me. He looked uneasy, not sprinting but moving quickly, as if trying to get away from something. We both spoke at the same time. I asked what had happened, and he told me to go back to the cabin immediately. In the end, we just walked quickly and silently back inside. Only then did he tell me that he had seen a man watching him from the woods. He said the guy looked extremely creepy, and as he continued along the trail, the man seemed to be following him. Jimmy thought that if he headed back to the cabin while it was still light out, the man might follow him all the way, so he waited until it was completely dark. Being the older brother, Jimmy reassured me that it was probably nothing, just being overly cautious. I believed him and tried not to worry. Maybe the guy had a cabin nearby, or was just hiking. We cooked dinner and then sat outside on the porch by the fire for the rest of the night. Both of us quietly kept an eye out to see if anyone was watching us, though neither of us admitted it. The mountains and woods grew quieter as the night went on. We talked by the fire until very late before finally going to bed. The next morning, we ate a quick breakfast and prepared to hike up the main peak in the area, which took about 6 hours. We were both exhausted. That final stretch back to the cabin felt endless. Once inside, Jimmy dropped his backpack and said he was going to shower. I sat waiting on the couch. The cabin only had 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, so I had to wait. I hadn't been lying there for even a minute when I suddenly remembered the man my brother had mentioned the night before. I stood up and looked out the window, almost expecting to see him there. I turned back to the couch, but suddenly something felt very wrong. A few minutes passed as I tried to understand what that strange feeling was, and then I realized I still couldn't hear the water pump for the shower. "Jimmy?" No answer. I walked down the hallway toward the bedroom. I knocked on the door and called his name again. As I bent down and slowly cracked the door open, a chill ran down my spine. I opened it just a few inches, and through the gap, I saw Jimmy. He was kneeling in the corner of the room, eyes wide open, staring straight at me, gently shaking his head, no, clearly signaling for me to leave. The terror in his eyes was so intense that I can still remember it vividly. A horrifying image I wish I had never seen. I pushed the door fully open and saw a man standing just a few steps away from him. The man's eyes were wide too, but in a tired, unsettling way. His clothes were torn and filthy, his long black hair greasy and matted. In that moment, I didn't think. I just acted on instinct. I charged at him. When I was only a few steps away, I saw him raise a gun from his side. I tackled him to the ground, and Jimmy immediately understood and jumped in to help. We managed to wrestle the gun away and restrain him somewhat. He was like a wild animal, screaming, clawing, thrashing, trying to break free. I had never seen anyone like that before. He refused to give up, so it took us quite a while to figure out what to do. Eventually, we decided that Jimmy, much bigger than me, would hold him down while I ran outside to prepare the car. I threw our gear into the vehicle, already packed from the hike, and started the engine, ready to go. Then I went back inside. We used whatever we could find in the cabin to tie him up temporarily, just enough for us to escape. And of course, we took the gun with us. As we drove away, we could still hear his screams coming from inside the cabin. Once we had phone service, we immediately called the police. But by the time they arrived at the cabin, there was nothing left but shredded rope on the floor. The man was gone. We still talk about how crazy it was that I charged at that man. Honestly, I can't explain it either, but it was probably the very thing that allowed us to survive and leave that cabin alive. The police only had one lead, the gun we handed over. They traced it back to its owner, a man who had gone missing 5 years earlier, about 80 kilometers from where we were. But based on our description, it didn't seem to be him. That made us think that the man who attacked us may also have attacked the gun's owner, turning him into a missing person. So if things had gone even slightly differently, that fate might have been ours, Jimmy's and mine.